Hello again, everybody. It is Gordon Majak here, back with another episode of Timeless Pop, Rock, and Soul on a Saturday afternoon. And today we are continuing our recent journey through the 70s. And just as in that last video, if you saw the last video for free, doing that classic rock standard, All Right Now. We got another one today, but this is in such a much different fashion. I would argue that this song today actually is also a classic rock standard, just a staple of classic rock radio back there in the late 70s. But yet, in a different way, it also just has a song that has flown so far under the radar. Just feels like it could even get deserve more attention and more praise and more love than it ever got up to this point. But let's go back to 1979, because the craziest thing happened today when I was researching this song. I thought I knew everything about this song, and I thought I didn't think I could love it any more than I already loved it. But then I found out some crazy background stuff that makes me appreciate it even more. All right, now this was for me in 1979. This was a pretty left field artist and a left field kind of musical vibe, but this dude pulled this off so well and just absolutely knocked me out with this record. This is the great Nick Lowe and his album. Hey, what's going on there? His album Labor of Lust, and we are gonna hear this freaking classic, this masterpiece. I would argue this is a stone cold classic of the classic rock era there from the summer of 1979. Man, this was a song that Nick Lowe may have been kind of a left field artist for me, and just kind of knowing his background and his history stuff, maybe not necessarily the kind of stuff that I would have been listening to most of the time. But man, this song just blew my mind. So catchy and such a great musical vibe for this song. Classic, Cruel to Be Kind. Now here's the weird part about this. So I've always loved this song from all the way back there in the day. And if you would have asked me sort of like to put on a music producer's hat and sort of characterize this song, I would have said that one of the really cool things about this song, Cruel to Be Kind, is that it is so non-genre specific that it can float across so many different musical styles and genres. I mean, is it pop? Is it rock? Is it country rock? Is it country? Those are all legitimate questions of this song, because the song is just written in such a beautifully melodic way, and the way the music flows along, and Nick Lowe's great lead vocal on top of it, and such a clever lyric, of course, as well. The way the song just sort of flows along. I mean, you could see pop artists covering it. You could see rock artists covering it. I would kill to hear Dwight Yoakam cover this song. I think Dwight Yoakam would just have a field day with Cruel to Be Kind. It's a song that just could fit into so many different musical niches. But here is the absolutely just crazy, ridiculous thing that I discovered today that I had no idea of. And this goes all the way back to 1979. So Nick Lowe wrote... Let's get another look at Nick. Here's a different picture sleeve from the single there. Summer of 79. Nick Lowe co-wrote Cruel to Be Kind with a guy, Ian Gaume, who was a band member, a fellow band member of Nick Lowe's in a band back there in the early 70s. The band was called Brinsley Schwarz in the UK. And they were bandmates, and they wrote a song, and they recorded a demo version of a song called Cruel to Be Kind. Well, what I did not know, and now... Actually, let me continue that thought for 1 second. So they record the demo. They're in, 74, we're saying? Maybe 74, 75. But it just gets put on the shelf, and they don't release it. And then when Nick Lowe eventually leaves Brinsley Schwarz and goes out on his own as a solo artist and gets signed to Columbia, it was their idea to go back into the vault and pull out this old demo that Nick Lowe had written for Cruel to Be Kind, and give it the new treatment and revise it and update it and re-record it. And they did, and the result was this huge hit song, okay? But here's the weird thing. So I'm looking up the song today because I couldn't remember how high it had charted or the exact timing of when it had come out. I knew it was the summer of 79, but I wasn't sure exactly the date and the month and all of that. Turns out that it was just as big of a hit as I thought it was. Number 12 on the US chart and number 12 also in the UK in the summer of 79. Well, Nick Lowe apparently says that the inspiration for this song and the real influence of this song came from a mutual love that he and his co-writer Ian Gaume had for, wait for it folks, this is a mind blower, the great Philly soul from the early 70s there, and specifically a song by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes called The Love I Lost. Now, even as these words are coming out of my mouth right now, I can't believe I'm saying this, because if you guys know me, you know that Philly soul, to me, first of all, Philly soul as a genre and as a sound, absolute upper echelon, top shelf, creme de la creme in my book. You guys know I love that stuff inside out. Not just Harold Melvin, I mean the Spinners, the OJs, the whole thing. I love all that stuff. And I love me some Teddy Pendergrass and Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. And you also know how much I love The Love I Lost. I love it so much that I did a reaction to that one several months ago, and I'll post the link for that one. But I mean, that's a song that I can't even listen to without just going nuts, because that song to me is just such musical perfection. So in that sense, as I was reading this about Nick Lowe having been influenced and inspired by Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes recording of The Love I Lost, which came out there in late 1973. So remember now, Nick Lowe and Ian Gaume are writing this, we suspect around 74 or 75, right? Based on the timing of when Harold Melvin's song would have been out and on the radio and everything. So Nick Lowe is saying that he was influenced and inspired by The Love I Lost. Now, of course, my first reaction was, well, that speaks greatly to Nick Lowe's good taste, right? Because if he can dig The Love I Lost and appreciate it at that level enough that he's inspired and influenced by it and wants to write his own sort of take on the subject, that's pretty cool in its own right. But it was just the sort of weird, if you would have asked me about Cruel to Be Kind and asked me to describe prior to knowing this sort of what I thought the musical vibes of Cruel to Be Kind were and why it has remained to me such a timeless song. You can hear it 1,000 times and it still sounds incredible and fresh every single time, as does The Love I Lost. But if you would have asked me all these groovy things that I have loved so much about Cruel to Be Kind, I do love the way it just grooves and flows along. And as I said, you know, is it pop? Is it country? Is it rock? Is it country rock? What is this sound? And yes, I would have said that there was a soulful element to it. And I would have said the soulful element just comes with the way the musicians in Nick Lowe's band, led by Nick Lowe himself, of course, just swing the groove so beautifully from an instrumental standpoint, and also the way the rhythm and the flow of Nick Lowe's vocals, right? And you put those two things together and the song just really has a great undercurrent and a great groove that just pushes it along, right? And it's just relentless, and you can just hear it over and over and over, and it just grooves your ass off every single time. So I would have acknowledged that soulful aspect of it, but I never in a million years would have made that connection to the Philly soul aspect of soul. And that just caught me so off guard hearing that. But having heard that, and now that we know that, of course, that just makes me love and appreciate Nick Lowe even more, and it makes me want to sort of approach Cruel to Be Kind maybe with a fresh set of ears now, knowing that in the background, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes and The Love I Lost was such an important musical vibe there for Nick Lowe and Ian Gaume when they were writing this one. And it's just so strange, you know, a song like this, they write it there in the early to mid 70s. It sits on the shelf for a few years. the next thing you know, his new record label is resurrecting it and polishing it up and releasing it as a single. And wow, it ends up becoming the high point of Nick Lowe's solo career there in the summer of 1979. And it has remained one of my all-time favorites. And now that I know all this new information about it, I think that's just going to give me a whole new appreciation for this thing. Just a classic, a masterpiece. It's the great Nick Lowe. Let's see Nick again before I hit the play button here, man. This dude, just the craziest thing to me. The Sound of Philly, the Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, The Love I Lost. And he said, now Nick Lowe, of course, is plays bass and also plays guitar. And there he is with his bass. And Nick Lowe specifically cited the bass line in Cruel to Be Kind as sort of his attempt to sort of mimic the feel of the Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes song. I mean, isn't that is just an absolute, here we go, there's Teddy and Harold and the Blue Notes and the single cover there for the classic Love I Lost. So, okay, here we go. So let's fire up Nick Lowe and let's look for those Philly soul undercurrent flowing through this great song. And yeah, even if you don't hear it necessarily, this is still such a stone cold classic. Sounds fantastic every single time all these years later. Cruel to Be Kind, Nick Lowe, summer of 79. What a summer that was. That was the summer I turned 21. Holy cow, I'd forgotten that this song was right there as I was turning 21. Wow. Ah, what a jam. Well, notwithstanding Nick Lowe's groovy bass line on that song that he had pointed out was sort of one of the elements that he was attempting to mimic, that vibe from the Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes tune. Aside from his bass line, the weird thing is listening back to this song and just grooving to this song all over again now, knowing that information and knowing what Nick Lowe's inspiration was. I hear so many other things that I've always heard in this song. I mean, to me, in terms of inspiration and influence, there's such an obvious rubber soul era of Beatles influence, right? I mean, I could totally hear this coming out of the rubber soul sessions there. There's sort of that late 60s pop rock sound like the Grassroots had going on there for a while in 68, 69, around that time, 67, something like that. So I hear all sorts of British and American, I guess, pop influences, and it's just absolutely fascinating to me, and just in the coolest way possible to know that Nick Lowe is over there. I guess this picture is from when he was in Rockpile with Dave Edmunds, because I see the Rockpile band name there on the kick drum. So this must have been from the Rockpile era. But for Cruel to Be Kind, I can hear all those influences, which is just so cool. But there's Nick Lowe over there in the UK digging that Philly soul. And as we've talked about it so many times, you know, Philly soul was just a sensation, not only here in the US and all the incredible power and influence it had here in the US music market, but absolutely over there in the UK as well. I mean, there's just a whole generation, multi-generations, in fact, of UK musicians influenced by that span of great music, that catalog of great music that came out of Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, and as we were just talking about a week ago, Tom Bell. There's the giants of the Philly soul sound, right? And pretty cool that it gets all the way across the pond there and gets into Nick Lowe's brains and inspires him and Ian Gaume to write a sort of vibe based on Harold Melvin and The Love I Lost. If you would have told me that and got the odds on that, never in a million years would I have imagined that. So I will post the link, as I said there earlier, for the my previous reaction to Harold Melvin, one of my all-timers, man, not just of Philly soul, but 70s soul and just music in history. You know, I just dig The Love I Lost. But man, Nick Lowe, one of those songs that I would say is belongs in there of the best of the classic rock era there for the late 70s, because just such a, I guess organic is the word that I want to say that comes to mind. This song has got such an incredible organic melodic flow and just grooves like hell every single time. Great melody, great vocal melody, cool changes. But man, the Philly soul thing totally caught me off guard. You learn something new every day, folks, and whoever would have thought that these two artists and these two songs that I thought I kind of had a pretty good handle on, I wasn't even close. That is just crazy. See you in the next one, back with some more 70s. We're going to stay in the 70s for a good while here, and there is just so much incredible material. I can't get to it all fast enough, but I had to do Nick Lowe. This one has been bubbling up here on my playlist for a while. I had to get to this one today. See you in the next one, folks. Hope you dug Cruel to Be Kind. Let me hear Dwight Yoakam doing Cruel to Be Kind. Holy crap, that would be unbelievable, along with any number of other artists. I mean, how would you like to hear Chris Isaak or somebody like that, Katie Lang doing Cruel to Be Kind? Are you kidding me? You could name a zillion artists. It's just such a great composition. See you, folks. Nick Lowe, go ahead.